right, we are back here at Song of the Day, coming to you from the Rock Cave. I'm your host, Mark Pierce. It's Wednesday, Wanderlust Wednesday, yet again here in the cave where we throw something at you that maybe you haven't heard in a long time, you've never heard, you vaguely remember, deep cuts. You get the gist. You know the drill. Speaking of drills, this is not a drill. Heading back to see Roger Waters again tonight with my wife, Sarah, for our 9th show, I think, seeing him. We're heading to the rock and roll mecca of the United States, Albany, New York. We're looking forward to that show for sure. A little bit closer to the stage tonight. So good. So good. Rock and roll refugee. Here I come. All right, so what are we talking about today? I heard this band the other day, and I heard one of these songs, and I was like, oh man, how have I not covered them in the cave yet? I love this record. I have not played this record in forever, so we're going back to 2001. We're in the 2000s again, people. It's true. We're talking about the band The Strokes. Remember The Strokes? Raise your hand. This was a big deal. Now, they were formed in 1998, an American rock band out of New York City. Julian Casablancas, yes, you recognize that name. Father, John Casablancas, founder of Elite Model Management. He went to school in New York, didn't have very good grades, or they wanted the grades to go up. End up sending him at the age of 13 to a boarding school in Switzerland. Swiss boarding school. Sounds like the name of a rock band, I think. I always thought Swiss Army Life would be a good name for a band too. So anyway, and by then his parents had divorced. So his father had been playing music like Phil Collins and introduced him to that kind of music. And then when his mother remarried, her husband introduced him to things like the Doors and all that kinds of stuff. So that would play a role in his musical life. He's at this boarding school. He meets future guitar player there, goes back to New York City, doing their thing, school, meeting up, forming a band, working side jobs, all that stuff. 2001 comes along. They put out an EP that gets a lot of attention, The Modern Age, a lot of attention actually, and there's a bidding war for them, and RCA signs them, and they put out their debut record that summer, 2001, and Is This It? Is the name of the record with no question mark. They thought the question mark would look funny. They released it first in Australia. It's an American band. I don't know how that all works, but July 30th, 2001 in Australia. Then they started a tour to promote the record, and they put it out gradually. So like in Japan, it comes out in early or mid-August. In the UK, it comes out towards the end of August. And they're supposed to put it out on September 11th, 2001 in the United States. The CD, that does not happen. Everyone pretty much put off releases that day. Although the record did come out. When they finally did put out the CD in October, they had removed one of the songs, New York City Cops, but that one stayed on the vinyl because it was too late. It was already pressed and already out. Anyway, this got a lot of attention because, remember, 2001, we're coming off of the grunge, right? Like, we've been listening to grunge for 9 years at that point, and we're looking for something different. And what's different is old school guitar rock and roll is what we're looking for. And this stuff we're talking garage rock. We're talking the Velvet Underground, the Doors, Ramones, maybe some Jane's Addiction in there somewhere, that kind of stuff. But it just sounds so raw, and there's a reason for that, because they recorded everything live. The first time they went through it, it sounded too polished, so they said, we're going to do this more live. And that's what they did. They stripped it down, did it live, most of their takes, only 3 mics on the drum kit. And it sounds like sometimes he's singing through a megaphone, but you just feel that when it came out, and it was so different. And that's what was so awesome about it. Remember, the Killers were doing their thing. That was awesome. Also, the White Stripes put out one of their records in 2001, White Blood Cells, heavy guitar, like Led Zeppelin guitar, blues rock, punk, all in the same thing. So that was what was happening in the early 2000s as we pivoted from grunge. So this record was getting it had 3 singles on it, so it was definitely getting some airplay, and I just would not stop listening to this record. I was so excited for the first time for new music. I just remember thinking, there's a future in new music. I don't have to sit here and listen to all my old music, which is all the time. But, I still do that. But this was some great stuff there. Again, 3 singles. It went to number 33, but number 2 in the UK. They knew what was up. And platinum in many countries. The critics, fans, everyone loved it. It was just awesome. It's named one of the best albums of the 2000s consistently on people's lists. And again, you just have to revisit it. If you don't even remember them, you're playing this whole record, especially side A, but Let's go through some of the highlights there. Is This It? The Modern Age, Soma, love Soma. Barely Legal, all these are great. Someday, the singles are Someday, Last Night, and Hard to Explain. Someday and Last Night, those kick some serious butt. I love those songs. The album cover on this, the international cover, is the one that's a better cover, voted one of the best covers of all time. The United States, we weren't having it. They're like, that is too much. That's too graphic. We can't do it. So they came up with some painting of something or some artwork or whatever it was. Clearly, just boring. International cover is where it's at. Anyway, so that's what you're listening to today. You're listening to The Strokes. They put out another record after that. That got some critical acclaim, didn't quite do as well, and they went on and off after that. But this is where it's at with this record, The Strokes. Is this it? Yes, this is it. That's what you're listening to today. Whatever you're doing, I hope it involves music. We're probably not having a song of the day tomorrow. We'll be back on Octane Friday. But anyway, looking forward to tonight. Have a good one. And as usual, I'll catch you on the flip side.